This next card I want to show you, the butterfly one, really does look spectacular, but there's quite a lot of different sort of folds going on. Now, to begin, first of all, print out your sheets, and we have the three main ones here. We've got the backing paper, the ancillary butterflies, which I'll show you how we're going to use those a little later on, and the main pop-up here, and some tabs. Now what I've done with this is I've printed the cover onto 180 GSM, or 220 would be better if you can get it through your printer, and printed both sides. So I've now got the front of the card and the inside all in one nice unit. That's just a personal choice, really is up to you. Okay, I'm going to place that to one side. These are our next elements. We don't need to worry about the butterflies yet, they're quite simple, so that leaves us with this one. It looks quite complicated, but it really isn't that bad. Now let me just show you one. I've been dying to say this, I prepared earlier on, and here it is. Now I've penciled in the folding lines a little bit more so that you can actually get to see them. They will appear a little bit lighter when you come to print it out and to fold it, but don't worry, they will disappear once you start folding the butterflies and really won't be noticeable. A couple of points to notice. We've got our flaps here, our tabs. You can cut this section out here if you want to. This section here in the middle I am going to cut out, but later, after I folded it, that bit we can lose. It just makes it look a little bit better. There's a small section in here, you do need to keep that in. I put some of the background colour in, but we keep that just to give it strength here. So our main folds are going to be down the centre, and then these two coming off, and then there's a little bit of jiggery pokery as we try and fold it all together, and I'll show you how we do that. So my first thing to do now is to actually come along the centre line here with my scoring tool, and you'll notice that centre line comes right up to here, this point here. Line that up because we want this to be fairly accurate. In fact, we want this to be very accurate if we can, but they are always a little bit forgiving. A nice line in there, not too hard so we don't want to break the surface, but enough in there to enable me to fold the card. And then I've got these sections here, as we can see, and another one here, and last but not least I've got one here. Now in itself this isn't very complicated, it looks beautiful when it's made, but it does mean a little bit of awkward folding, and that's what we're going to look at next. So the first thing to do is, we've got our centre line here, is to actually pick up the whole thing and just begin folding that, and that will go, see how I'm pinching it, and we'll take that right the way to those wingtips there, and that's our first fold in. So the first thing we do is fold along the centre line. You can see here a nice score, and I'm just going to work my way along all the way up to the tip there of the top butterfly. Now the next thing to do are these folds here, and what you need to do is hold it, I rest it on my finger here, push down here, and just begin to push it, and we can see that the crease on the right hand side here just starts to come into play. So I'll just squeeze that from the end. It gets a little bit tricky as we get towards the centre, so I'll leave that, come round, rest my finger under here, and start squeezing that one, and we can see it pulls together. And now a final squeeze, 90 degrees, and I've got that first fold in. Can you see now? So it was from there to there, it starts to pull itself into shape, and it reaches a natural point, I think about then you've got it. It may take a few goes, and that's why I haven't cut this out yet. We really needed that paper just to give it some strength at that particular point, and then as it folds in and out we'll get this lovely fold line there. So the next thing to do is kind of repeat that with these ones at the back here, because this is actually a reverse, it's going to come out this way, so I've got to squeeze this part out here while squeezing those in. So I'm going to, again, once it starts to move, just pull it over from the back here to get that part in. tease it over, begin to get that bit in, and it should all start to just fold, and you can see now how it's collapsing in on itself. So down onto the side there, and then into there, and then then the whole thing can just come down and you can give it a squeeze like that, and that should, as we unfold it, be all in position. I think fair to say that's probably one of the trickiest folds I'm ever going to ask you to do, that particular top one. It's reversing out from there and then coming back, but if you just take your time, if you score those lines, in fact I would suggest you score those quite deeply so it'll make the folding easier. Don't worry if it breaks the surface a little bit, you can always go over with a colour pencil. So that's all our fold lines in. Now if you want to, you can come back and just take out this section here. The strength in this will be within the wings of the butterfly, so I'll just go on now and cut this out. But the last thing to do now is to put a crease line onto the two tabs here and then just fold them over, ready for sticking onto our base card. We're now ready to put the butterflies down onto our base paper, and what I would suggest you do is measure in 35mm and just pop a little point in there. There is one, but it's hard to see, so just measure again and make sure that you can see it there. And then what we've got to do is just line up the corner here of the butterflies on the crease line, just so that you can see. I'm going to pencil this in a little bit darker so it sort of X marks the point there. And then you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. So what I'm going to do is put that corner to there. Now you'll notice what we don't want to do is have the butterfly sticking out. If I twist that, you'll see the wings there. So the best thing to do is just line it up and make sure that the wings of the butterflies are sticking in here. We really don't want them coming out if we can help it. In fact, there's no need to. So line that point up there, 35mm in, line that to there, twist it a wee bit to make sure that the wings aren't sticking out beyond your card, and then if we open it up, you can keep it in position. You don't have to be too critical here. A bit of glue onto that tab. Now these tabs are going to be doing a lot of work, so make sure you glue them well. That one can go down, fold it in carefully. Bit of glue here on this tab, and then fold the card over, press it all down, and then as we open our card, the butterflies will rise up and out, and it really does look very spectacular. So that's the first part, but we can add to this card if we want to. We can pull up, we can use this movement here to pull up and have some butterflies on a layer there. So that's what I'm going to do next. For that part you'll need to cut out 2 or even 1, depends on how many you want to make, or 4 if you want to go even 4 further. Some of the tabs here, cut them out, they're on the sheet there, and then using your ruler and scoring tool, just score along the points here so that we can fold them. And then a little pinch, and there we go, that's our first one. And I'll show you how this works. We just create a basic shape there that's going to stick to the paper, stick to the side where the butterflies are, and then we're going to have a butterfly resting on top of there like so, and then that will pull up with the card. So let me show you now how that applies, and then you can put one on the other side or join one onto the other if you want to as well. The beauty of this card is you can really customize it to your own ends. So let's come back to our card. We can see as we open it we get this wonderful pop-up effect happening with the folds. It's this crease here that we're going to utilize. We're going to need to put our tabs on, so what I'm going to do is just glue this one here and put a little bit of glue on the furthest point here. Be careful to keep that sticking out, we don't want it to glue yet. Now this will come onto the card. If I can show you here, a little bit tricky, you can decide where you want it. I'm going to actually have this one where the wings just join together there, and that will come down and that forms, when it's at 90 degrees, forms the pull up there. So the thing to do is just try and, let me pop this onto the side so we can see, when it's at 90 degrees, that other tab should be at 90 degrees as well, if you can see there. Those two at 90 degrees. Now, to make sure it does work properly, I've just gently rested that down, put the card down and let it kind of find its position. It can move a wee bit, and then that's going to stick, and then that is going to work perfectly for you. Can you see as we open it up, that now comes up. I'm just going to put some of my trusty glue onto there, and then come along and just put it down on here. Now what we've got to make sure is that it's not going to come over the crease line. If you see that, if you can just make a mental note, otherwise there's going to be problems. So let me just pop that to there like so, and then just fold it down and make sure it's all going to fold nicely. As long as that wing is doesn't come into there, you're going to be okay. Now you won't need to do this, but what I've got to do is make sure that that wingtip doesn't cross over the line. That's just about on it. It's perhaps a little bit over. I'll curl the wing a bit and that'll help it. But you can see the main thing is that we can build up and have another layer on there with our card. So as we open it up, we've got extra butterflies as well. And of course from this we can add another one, could come off from there if you wanted to as well. Or we can add one onto the other side here and keep working them along. Now what you can do as well, and I think this gets rather exciting, is add additional butterflies. Once that one's on, really should have done this on the other side. This is where our message is going to be written here. But if I can just show you what I can do, forgive the fact that the message is on there, I could put another butterfly on. In fact, what I'd like to do is just pop on a foam pad. If I put that onto the wing there, and take that off, this just gives it a little bit of elevation, and put that butterfly, just keep that wing there, and that just raises that one up. Now what you've got to do is when it all folds, make sure that isn't going to come out and jam the mechanism. And as you can see, as we fold it out, that one drops up, that one pulls out, and we've got another one sitting there. Now you can't go too far with this, so the weight will come a little bit heavy, so maybe a slightly thicker paper would be better, but that's still a 160 GSM card I've put on there. But what a spectacular card. And of course we can decoupage the front as well if we want. I think this truly is a stunning card. A little bit tricky to make with the folds, but once you've done it, you really have created, I think, something absolutely wonderful.